So you want to be a filmmaker, but don't know where to start? Well, let's break it down. In this video, I'm going to go over all the steps I take when I create scenes of myself at home. We're going to go through the basics, compositions, setting, lighting, and sound, so eventually you can do this at home for $0. So first, you must ask yourself, why? Ever since I was a kid, films have spoke to me in a way that makes things easier to explain. They would just help me through so much and typically had better moral lessons than what I was learning in my own home. I started with photography as a kid when I would ride dirt bikes with my father, and then that turned into this passionate hobby of mine. Taking stills is just so cool to me. Like, what do you mean I can capture a moment forever? Count me in. So, how to get started? Here's what you need. A camera, a light or two, at least a good audio recorder, some sort of silk and negative fill, and a story that is yours. Alright dude, I have all of that, but how do I use it? Chill here, Beaver, I'm getting there. The first thing you want to do is a little pre-production. Find whatever works for you and your flow, but for me, I like to type out my story. This may get revised 3 to 100 times before I'm happy. Then, I storyboard most of my scenes so I mentally know what my edit is going to look like before I start shooting. In my brain, this allows me to correct what won't work within the space I know that I'll be using for the scene, which 90% of the time is just my home. Next, we're moving to the best part, actually filming our ideas. Composition is the first thing that I personally think about. I will literally just sit and stare at a room and think of all the possible ways I can shoot my scene. When it comes to creating compositions, try and remember these things. What's the feeling you want your scene to give off? What lenses help push that feeling to your audience? Where is your subject living in the frame, and why? An extra tip, if you use leading lines, that can really help tell a story without words. Once you have your composition set, it's time to light that bad boy. This is probably the scariest part to most, so let's not try to overthink it. We can pre-pro all we want, but nothing ever goes as planned. The best advice I've ever gotten was to start simple and go from there. So first, where's my motivational light coming from? Motivational light is a cinematography technique where artificial lights are placed to mimic a visible or implied source in the scene. Example is like a window, lamp, street light, other such things. This method justifies the lighting, giving your footage a realistic, immersive, and naturally cinematic look. The second light I'm going to bring in is a key, and I want to match whatever that motivational light is. Not all the time, but a good rule of thumb is to start there. The key light is the primary, most intense light source in the scene. It defines the subject's shape, sets the mood, and establishes the direction of the shadows. Some sort of dome or a way to shape it is best, but if not, that's where those sheets are going to come in handy that I was talking about earlier. You can use some sort of negative fill and diffusers to help soften and create that contrast for that cinematic look you're going for. There are so many lighting techniques, like for real dude, we can't go through them all. So just experiment and see which technique is best for the style that you're trying to put out. Once I've set my key, I look at my monitor and think, what's it missing? This is the stage where I add practicals and room tone. And no, not audio room tone, I like to call this like lighting room tone. Practicals are what we can see in the scene. More like lamps, TV, broken bulbs, you name it. Room tone is usually referenced for sound, but I also like to have lighting room tone that will tighten and push my scene into its final look. Here's typically where I get the cinema magic and it all ties together. Not everything has to be this complicated, I just wanted to go deep. Natural lighting is probably your best friend if you hit it at the right time, and get creative with cheaper tools like bounces and it can do way more than you think. Before I'm feeling 100% about my lighting, I add a negative fill by the key, and that's that cinematic magic you see in all your favorite movies. Lastly, but still one of the most important things, is the camera movement. Here is how you talk to your audience, especially as a solo filmmaker. You have everything else set, but if you don't have the right movement, all of that work you just did will mean nothing. Some of my favorite movements are going to be push in. We're getting emotionally closer. Examples can be a character realizing the truth, falling in love, and a growing fear. Think that this moment matters when you're pushing in. And the opposite, pulling out, distance or loneliness. Someone loses everything, a character feels alone, end of a journey. Let's think they're small in a much bigger world. A basic pan, meaning discovery. Examples would be like revealing someone entertaining, looking across the room, following attention. Let's think like, look over there. You're trying to lead your audience's eye to wherever you're panning. A tilt up is like power or awe. Looking up at a villain, revealing a skyscraper, introducing a hero. Think they're larger than life. Tilt down typically means like weakness or vulnerability. Some good examples are injured characters and someone sitting defeated. Think it's like they're losing control, and the best way to do that is with a tilt down. One of my favorite methods, especially for run and gun shoots, is handheld. This can apply to so many situations, but typically the audience is experiencing events firsthand when you're doing this. The common emotions can be anxiety, chaos, fear, and authenticity. The best examples of how this has been done, and Matt Damon is in both these movies, is Saving Private Ryan and The Bourne Ultimatum. When you can get this one right, a whip pan is so effective. Showing sudden energy, it's used for fast comedy, fight scenes, and quick transitions. You just want things to move fast, and a whip pan's going to be your best solution. Zoom in. It's unlike a dolly shot because the whole camera doesn't physically move. A dolly, the whole camera's moving. With a zoom in, you're just changing the focal length. It should feel like someone's noticing something, but from far away. It's obsession, it's uneasy. Think, is somebody watching me, but I can't see them? Alright, please, for the love of God, do not forget about sound. Getting any sounds that match the action in your scene is the most important thing to sell that realism. If it's missing it, it's just not going to make sense. Don't let your background audio ride over the narrative, and don't let things peak in the red. So to recap, I know this sounds like a lot, but the more you do it, the more it becomes natural and quick. But yeah, this is how I film myself at home every day. So like, go film yourself now, weirdo, and stop watching my videos.